So, of course, we gave you the updates there on the Heat. No Gabe Vincent tonight, but obviously we're locked in tonight in the ZASLOW Mansion family room. I'll tell you what, though, I'm still going to be riding high. I'm still going to be on cloud nine once the Heat tip off tonight at TD Garden after last night's Panthers Eastern Conference Championship clinch and win. And one of the guys who I'm so happy for as well, I've told you guys this today, is my pal Billy Lindsay, all-time great Florida Panther, of course, color analyst on the radio side with our pal Doug Plagans, and also does studio work on NHL Network. Billy, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you were able to find some time for us today. I played the clip earlier in my show today of you last night post-game on the NHL Network. I mean, I couldn't have had a wider smile watching the clip where you couldn't put the words together. And I was very emotional at the end of the game last night. Like, you were on the team. Like, we've waited 27 years. And it's not just waiting 27 years. There were so many really bad years in those 27 years. And I'm so glad you showed that emotion last night on television for everyone to know there are so many people down here who really, really care, Billy.
Yeah, it was, Zaz, for me to come down here when I did in the early 90s and to accomplish what we did in those first 3-4 years and capture the hearts and the imagination of South Florida is why I fell in love with South Florida in general. Always kept a home base there. The community was so welcoming at those early years, and we built it up to have such a good product and the fan base. And then, as you mentioned, we go through those struggles, and it was hard to battle through that. So that's kind of where all my emotion came from, is to just see this city and the fan base grab onto this team. Now, this is 4 straight years in the playoffs. You've been knocking on the door, and to get it back to where it was back in the early 90s, that's what has meant the most to me, because we have taken a beating. We take it from other fan bases. You hear it all over. So when you get just put down and beat up like that for so long, and you damage your brand with the losing, it's tough to get the fans in the building, especially in South Florida. Where was the trust in those 20 years when you're never making the playoffs once every 4 years, whatever it is? It's just, so to go through all that and to see it build back up with this team that just squeaks into the playoffs, and Matthew Tkachuk, Bobrovsky. And at this time of the year, it goes back to 96. This team has a little bit more talent, but what they're doing is with the exact same way we did in 96. At this time of year, it's all about this heart and your guts. And this team is playing with passion. It's playing with fire. They're either going to go around you, they're going to go through you. They are going to find a way to win, and they're having fun. To see that building sold out, and that's why those emotions just poured out of me. I'm not only so happy for our fan base, so happy for South Florida, but I'm happy for those guys in that locker room for bringing this all back and showing what how hard this trophy is to win, to just get to this point, and now have a legitimate chance and another crack after 27 years. Phenomenal.
I'll bet. Like I said, I was so proud. I loved you showing that emotion. I'll bet you got so many messages from people that they were thrilled that you showed that emotion as well on a national stage. I'll bet you got a lot of messages.
Yeah, it was just, everything was blowing up, and it was, to honest the point, because I was running around before we were to go on air right when Tkachuk scored, and I was jumping in the air going like crazy, and just natural emotion as a fan, because you can't, as a player, you can control it. As a fan, it's so hard. It's so hard being a fan. So I was running around screaming and doing everything, and then we're on the air in 30 seconds.
Right.
So I put on my jacket, and I'm like, my mind is everywhere. I'm trying to process this whole kind of information, and the producer says, "Okay, 10, we're on 5. We're gonna come to you, Billy," and then. And they came to me and I was all set, and I was just like, yeah. Then it just hit me like a brick. I just I just couldn't get anything out. I couldn't speak. It's like everything just came crashing down and flooded out of me. So it was a true, authentic experience from me. It's exactly what I felt at that time. It is, well, man. Right now, I just can't put it into words.
It's amazing.
How special it is.
It's amazing, amazing. And there's so many Panther fans, myself included. Like I said, I was very emotional after the game. Billy, I was 15 years old in 1996. I'm 42 now. I got my 14-year-old son, who it was essentially my age back in 96. I'm watching last night side by side with my 14-year-old son. I mean, when I'm 15, if someone would have said to me, the next time you're going to experience this, you're going to be watching it with your son, who is the same age as you right now. Like that's crazy. So there's so many people who feel the exact same way as you. I'm so thrilled. We hear Sasha Barkov, he couldn't play most of game 3, came back, thought he played a phenomenal game last night. Can you talk about what these guys physically, because we hear the Stanley Cup, it's the hardest trophy in all of sports to win. Can you talk about what these guys are going through physically right now?
Oh, you got bumps and bruises. And I remember I weighed into training camp in 1996, I believe around 205 pounds. And I held the weight most of the season, was around 200 pounds when we went into the playoffs. And you go through city to city, you got black eyes, you got bumps and bruises everywhere from these guys. The intensity level is hard to explain from the regular season to the playoffs by round, how fast the hockey gets, because you're playing better teams, you're playing the elite, you're playing the cream of the crop. And if you want to beat them, you have to do everything possible. You have to hit everything. You have to get in the way. You have to expend every ounce of energy that you have in your body. That 4 overtime game, it's a war of attrition that you have to. And so when I weighed out after going to the Stanley Cup, I lost 12 pounds in 2 months of just you can't eat enough. You're always on the training table. You're always getting fixed up. But the special part of it is that you dream of this as a kid. You road hockey, this is the only thing that's ever been on your mind. So you're living the dream. So you hear that term of being in a zone as an athlete, but you're there for 2 months. You are in this just focused zone. Like I can remember every playoff goal. I can only recall 2 or 3 regular season goals that I scored. You remember all the drip, the sweat dripping off your body. All the memories are so vivid and so in color when you go through this type of run and experience. And what you have to do to your body is almost not humane to win. And that's it. It comes down to character and drive. You can throw analytics are part of every sport. Throw them out the window at this time of year. Did you win the game or did you not win the game? And a lot of that goes down to doing that. And it's some of these players like Tkachuk. He's not only rewriting Panther history, he's rewriting NHL history. It's historic. And the goaltending of Sergei Bobrovsky, what playoffs can do. Sergei Bobrovsky is on a 77-year, $70 million contract. This is year 4. The first 3 years, very average, and gets beat up by the fan base. He could play 2 months of the best hockey of his life. $70 million is going to be worth it in 2 months if they win the cup.
Oh, yeah.
So that is what this stage does for you as a player. If you get to the cup, if you win the cup, automatically, every single player on that team, you're guaranteed another 4 years in the league. At some point, at somewhere down the line, if you've won a Stanley Cup, someone wants you to be part of your team. That happened in 96. All our guys went on to play another 5-6 years, maybe when they shouldn't have. It's that's the importance of playoff hockey.
I keep thinking, Billy, I keep going back to just how close we were to none of this ever happening. And the moment the moment that I keep going back to is the last second of Game 5 in Boston, where Sergei Bobrovsky makes the breakaway save on Marchand. It was all over at the very end of Game 5. None of this happens if Bobrovsky doesn't make that one save. It really is such a game of inches.
Yeah, it's that one save. He saved the season, and it's kind of funny. There's one motivational thing that kind of sticks out to me of movie of all sports, of all the movies, of all the cliches. Any given Sunday, Al Pacino's speech, Inch by Inch, is the one that rings true to me of all sports speeches that's ever been given in a movie, because he talks about in that speech, everything has to be done. We're either going to live together or as a team or die as an individual. And the inches are the 6 inches right in front of your nose. And you got to be willing to die for that inch in front of your nose. You got to crawl for it. You got to scrape for it. You were either 1 inch too fast, 1 inch too slow. Those are all the differences that add up. And that's what this Panther team has done. It's been inch by inch. And Paul Maurice, their coach, is just stay focused in the moment. That 6 inches, what you have right in front of you. You make the save, we go to overtime, focus on what's next and see where it takes you. And so far, this Panther team, inch by inch by inch by inch. And they have been the team that has been willing to sacrifice. And if you're willing to pretty much die for that inch, you are the team that's gonna come out on top. And that's a save. It's a save by inches. It's getting into the playoffs on game number 182. It's the Chicago Blackhawks beating the Pittsburgh Penguins that gives you a chance to get. But when you add all those inches up at the end of the year, if you do the things right, you could end up being a champion. So that kind of rings true to me, and this rings true to this Panther team.
Have you been in touch at all recently with any of your former teammates from '96 about what's going on right now?
Yeah, Stu Barnes, me and Stu were texting back and forth quite a bit last night. Tommy Fitz reached out. He's general manager of the New Jersey Devils, so his rooting interest is a little bit more on the Devils side, but he was happy for us. And all those guys, I've reached out a little bit to each and every one of them. They've been really. Rob Niedermeyer texted me and said, finally we can put that goal of yours to rest. He gives me a hard time about it. He said, thank God I don't got to live and see that every day.
It's okay. So I need to bring this up to you. Now, look, right here. Can you see this poster right here? It's framed. That's you. That's you. That's your goal. It's a diagram. It's the diagram of your goal that moment against Ray Bourque. It's hanging up on my wall here. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's you. And so it's been for 27 years, the undisputed greatest goal in the history of the Florida Panthers. Billy, is it okay with you that after Carter Verhaeghe scored the Game 7 winner against Boston in overtime, I knocked you down to number 2? I put Verhaeghe's goal as number 1. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's what I texted back when Needsy sent me that text. The first thing I sent him back was, you know what? Me too. And I said, 27 years. That's a hell of a run, my friend.
Yes.
I said, to have the goal. I said, for 27 years, I had my time. No one's ever going to take that away from our group. And that goal, they can't take it away from me, but can it be replaced? Yeah, good. Thank you for this team, and more Stanley. I can't watch a Stanley Cup celebration so I've never, after '96, whenever I watch the final and the game's over, I turn off the TV.
Wow.
Because the biggest it's not a regret, but the one thing when you're done playing, the hardest thing to really swallow is not having a Stanley Cup ring. Once you get in the league, to leave the league and not have a Stanley Cup ring it's heartbreaking. uh, because that's the ultimate. And the only way that I would ever watch or do it again is if this Panther team won a Stanley Cup, and to be part of it, I would that is the next best thing I can have at this point in my life, and that's my next dream. So I'm living the dream through this team on the broadcasting side to be part of it. And this is the only franchise that I would do that for. So I'm hoping not to turn off my TV, my radio at the end of this upcoming series. It's hard not to get ahead of myself. But yeah, this is it for me. This is the pinnacle, and we're right there back on the cusp. So this is not having a Stanley Cup as a player, but to be part of it as an organization, not only an organization that I work for, but a community that I've fallen in love with, and that means so much to me. So this is, I'm right back there living the dream again. So any goal that's scored, I'm fully behind it. It's, every stuff's supposed to be replaced. Mm-hmm. Records are supposed to be broken. Great goals, there's supposed to be better goals in the future. And we're finally here. We're finally here, my friend.
Amazing. 27 years. We've all waited so long to get back to this spot. I'm so excited for the fans. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for guys like you and Randy Moeller, who have been around there forever. I know he wasn't on the team, obviously, in 96, but guys have been working for the franchise, and I know who just cares so much about the team. An all-time, not only did they win the Eastern Conference Championship last night, Billy, but they gave us an all-time moments. Like, we're always going to remember where we were when Tkachuk scored that goal. It's a forever moment they gave us, Billy. It's amazing.
Now the picture that is going to be is Tkachuk on two knees.
Yep.
Sliding.
Yep.
Arms in the air. Celebration. That's getting to the Cup final, and if you win it, but that one picture right now, just Tkachuk sliding on his knees. That is gonna live for a long time.
Billy, really good catching up with you, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us this morning, and enjoy it. We're four more wins until forever. We're so close.
Yeah, Zaz, I appreciate the support. I know you're a big Heat fan, so am I. I'm a big sports fan in general. I follow everything. To have what the Heat are going through and what the Panthers, and we're both 8 seeds. We just crawled in. Yep. We're doing some damage, man. We're hurting some franchises, and
so good.
It's so good. It's so good to go through. Well, the Heat are going through Boston, but we went through Boston. We went through the cream of the crop in the East. And not only so, you win the last 3 against Boston. We just blow the Leafs off in 5, Carolina in 4. We're not only getting through these, we're dusting off this tough Eastern Conference. One more to go, but thrill ride just all the way. Dade County, Broward County, baby. Let's stand up, let's rise, and let's go.
Great job, Billy. Thank you, pal. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Az. Appreciate it, my friend.